Hey guys, it's April with Crafting with April. I am going to show you guys how to put the Santa sacks together today. I have my fabric, and if you look in the file, you'll notice that you have the big two skinny long strips. Those are for your ribbons, but I am choosing to use a quilt binding that's in gold that I found at Hobby Lobby. And I think that's going to make a pretty drawstring ribbon. So with this fabric, that's what I'm using. You can use ribbon. You can use twine. You can make your own to match your fabric. I would cut it out of the decorative fabric or either the solid because it's going to be run through this small piece of fabric. So if you want it to contrast, you'll want to cut it in whatever the color that the sack is and not the decorative piece. And then instead of bells or beads, I bought these buttons in the little Christmas section at Hobby Lobby. And they have the little hoop type on the back. I'm going to run my tape through there at the end and tie my knot off and let those be my decorative pieces. I'm going to set that to the side right now. You're going to have two long skinny pieces in there. Like I said, I'm using that bias tape so you won't see that in the video. I'm not cutting those pieces, but all you're going to do with those pieces is you're going to fold them in half like this, and you're going to stitch those down along the long edge. You're not going to stitch the ends. That way you'll be able to turn them, and that's what you will use for your drawstrings. This is my decorative top portion. And this is going to be my liner and my outside of my sack. I'm using the same color for mine. And you can do the same. Most of the time you will do these in the off-white, like the Santa sacks are, and then you'll just have a decorative top edge on it. But I wanted my sacks to be a color, and then I switched my iron-on app that I'm giving you guys with this. I switched my colors around so that they would show up, because naturally the red is probably not going to show up on red and green isn't going to show up on green. And I'll get into more of that after we make the sacks. So let me put these on my mats and run them through the Cricut Maker and cut these out real quick, and I'll be back with you guys. I thought I'd let you guys see the Cricut Maker cutting some of this fabric with the rotary blade. Make sure that when you do your fabric that it's not hanging over the edge here. I use, because my fabric wasn't completely square, I use one of these lip-edged rulers. It's like 23 inches long, and I laid that down the side and cut off any excess that might be hanging over the sticky part of the mat. That way it won't get caught in those rollers there. If it gets caught in those rollers there, it'll lift the fabric up off of the mat, and you don't want that. Let's eject that and let you guys see how easily that pulls off. I feather touch just pulled that off. And now I have that piece of fabric that's ready to go. It's basically fairly simple to put your fabrics down. The next piece it's asking me for is going to be my decorative piece. And I think I cut this wide enough. I'm hoping that I did. Yes, it's 8 inches. So I'm just going to lie that down on the mat. I have some fuzz. You want to touch your mat as little as possible. And get that on there. Get it smooth. And then with the Cricut brayer, and we have these at Cricut.com, you're going to just roll and make sure that that fabric is down on the mat. You want it smooth. You don't want any wrinkles or humps. It will cause your blade to jump and you won't get a smooth cut. Then, just like the other Cricuts, you're going to put it in and load it. And you can see my mat's dirty. I've cut several projects on this mat. You're not supposed to clean them with anything. It'll take the sticky off. And then I'm just going to hit the go button. And it's going to detect and make sure that I have that Cricut blade in. I don't have that edge down, but it's not going to cut way over there anyway. And there we go. It's just that quick and easy. There's no way that I could cut this with my little rotary, handheld rotary cutter that I use for getting my fabric scraps as square as I possibly can. There's no way I could do this that square with that. Some people can with those rulers and stuff. I can't. But you could totally cut this by hand. It's very easy. All the shapes are simple squares. And most of the time you do cut your fabric wrong side down. I mean the right side down. But on this particular pattern, it doesn't matter. The shapes are the same and they're all square. So it doesn't really matter how you do that. But normally, yes, you want to put your fabric down, right side down onto the mat. And I just didn't do it with this because I knew it didn't matter. And let me cut the rest of these and I'll be back with you guys. One more little tidbit for you guys. Just while this one's cutting, make sure that you iron all your fabric before you start using it and putting it on your Cricut mat. You don't want to put something that's got creases like this in it. It will not cut well because it'll cause the blade to skip over that, or it could even lift it up off the mat and wrinkle it, and then you've got an uneven cut. It may not matter so much with something like this that is all squares and things like that, but when you get into curves and stuff, patterns that have a curve to them or have to be cut a specific way, you really don't want that to happen to you. And we'll be back shortly. I am going to show you guys what I meant by making sure that that didn't overhang, because if I leave this fabric like this, it's going to hang up on those wheels, and you don't want to do that. And I knew that this fabric wasn't square, so what I'm doing is I'm just putting my ruler down there, and I am running my rotary cutter down the side to remove that small piece of fabric so that it does not interfere with the rollers on my machine. Got a little tail down here. Oops, I apologize. I bumped that camera really big time. I apologize. Didn't mean to make you guys seasick. But you don't want that overhanging because it will interfere into the rollers and lift the fabric up while it's trying to cut it. Just so that you could see what I meant by that, I wanted to show you. Okay guys, I got my machine set up here. This is in my craft area, and it's just so that I can show you. If you have that 1-inch piece, I believe it's 1 inch, you're going to be folding that in half with the wrong side on the outside, but I'm using this bias tape because it gives and it will bunch up and it will go smaller and through those holes, and that's what I wanted. I wanted something gold, but I didn't want something that frayed a lot. So all I'm doing is I'm stitching my bias tape down so that when it comes out like, I apologize, didn't mean to bump that camera. It comes out like this so that it's stitched together, forming that tube. And you can turn these if you want to, but I'm not going to worry with that. The stitching doesn't bother me. I was going to stitch it with this clear, but my 30-year-old sewing machine doesn't like it. So with that being said, I'm having to improvise and put my foot pedal up here on the desk so that I can stitch this. But all I'm doing is just stitching it down so that it doesn't open up once it's in there. I hope you can hear me. I know this machine is loud, but I am just doing this whole 3-yard roll of bias tape because I'm going to need 4 23-inch pieces, and there's 3 yards on a thing, so I can get 3 pieces out of each one. So let me finish stitching that. I'll be right back with you guys. Okay guys, I have finished stitching that, so I have my bias tape stitched, and that's what I'm using for my ribbon. I'm going to cut that into 12-inch sections, but I'm not going to do it until after I have pressed it. I stitched it before I pressed it just because I didn't want to have to deal with it off the roll and going from room to room, but I will press this before I use it in my project. So I'm going to set those to the side. Those are going to be my ribbons or my drawstrings. You can use ribbon. You won't have to do anything to that. Or you can use the pieces 1 and 2 and do that. let me go ahead and get started pinning and showing you guys how to put these pieces together. Now you're going to want your short, let me push this machine back just slightly and see if I can't get you guys adjusted down just a little bit. You're going to want your small of your piece number 5, I believe it is, piece number 5. You're going to want piece number 5 and piece number 3 and piece number 4. And what you're going to do is with the right sides together, grab my pins here, you're going to pin those if you need to pin. This is so short. I'm an experienced sewer. If you're not an experienced sewer, I wouldn't do it. That you're just going to stitch that down this edge right here. You're just going to pin it and stitch it down this edge on this end, and then you're going to do the same thing on this end. Let me change my thread out in the machine and I'll be back with you guys to show you how I... Okay guys, I'm back. I know this looks different to you than the other one, but I promise you it's the same. I'm just doing 2 bags, 2 different colors as I showed you at the beginning. And I had red thread and bobbin already ready to go. And I don't on the green. I have to do a bobbin. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and stitch my red one. Then I will make the green one off camera after I've done that bobbin and thread. So all you're going to do, and this is a 1/4 inch seam, which is what I call a zipper foot, or I'm not a zipper foot, but the sewing foot width is how I do it, and do my locking stitch. If you don't have a locking stitch on your machine, it's just, you just want to do a few stitches backwards. And then you're just going to stitch this as straight as possible. I got off a little there. Not going to hurt anything. And I tell you why that's happening to me is because I'm operating my foot pedal with my elbow, because I'm limited on space here. And then I'm just going to take out my pins. Let me get my pin cushion back over here where I can reach it. And I'm using my Cricut pins. And then I'm going to take this and stitch the other side as well. Just flipping it around. I don't want to really run over my pins. And again, I'm going to lock it. I'm going to do that locking stitch. I didn't do it on the end of that, but it's going to be okay because it's going to get stitched in. And we'll end that one. Now I'm going to take this to my iron. I'm going to open it up because you did stitch this right sides together. I'm going to open it up and I am going to press my seams open, and I'll be right back with you guys. Okay guys, I'm back, and you can see that I have pressed my seams open there. That's what you want. You just want to press them open. You want to cut any loose threads you might have hanging off the ends. Go ahead and cut those off as well. And then you're going to take your remaining piece, which is piece number 7, I believe. Let me double check that. Yes, because we just used 3, 4, and 5 here. So this is piece number 6, or your lining piece, whatever you chose. And mine's been laying over there and getting wrinkled. I did iron it, I promise I did. But you're going to line these 2 pieces up. And it may be a little long. May have to trim one end of it off. I think I cut them a little too long. I may have to adjust that file for you guys. But you want your fabric. I'll move that pedal out of my way for right now. You want to I'm reading my directions to make sure they make sense. Place 6 over there, hiding that. Okay. It is a little bit long. I'm going to have to trim it off. But what you're going to do is put this together. So if you got the file before I adjusted it, I apologize. You're going to need to adjust the measurement on piece number 7. It's about, let me measure that. Looks like I have it 1.5 inches too long. So we need to cut that down slightly. But what you're going to do is place these together like so that the pretty side is out and then the pretty side of your lining is showing as well. And you're going to take and line them up good. And you're going to fold this over just a little bit, like, I hope I'm on the camera here, like so. Let me pull this up, like this, just about 1/4 inch, and then press it, and then you're going to fold it over again. You're going to do it all the way around, and then you're going to repeat and go all the way around. So you want to do the 2 ends first and then the 2 sides. So let me go press this, and I'll be right back with you guys. Okay guys, I have done my first pressing, so I've turned it around on all the edges. I apologize, I'm pulling it apart here on camera. And I have pressed it, and I've gone both ends, and then I've done both sides. Now I am going to fold it over again, like so, all the way around. I am going to do my sides first on this one, and then I am going to do the ends so that when it's finished there are no raw edges showing. So I'll do that and I'll be... Okay guys, I'm back, and that's a little thick on the ends, but it should be fine. But once you've pressed it, this is what you should see, where you don't see any raw edges. And then you're going to stitch this all the way around so that it's all sewn down flat. Let me stitch that real quick and I'll... Okay, I'm finishing up that step, guys, where I am just stitching all the way around. I'm going to try to keep this as straight as I possibly can. Like I said, I am stitching with my elbow. If you guys, I don't know if you guys can see that, but I have my presser foot up here and I'm using my elbow to press it down and make my machine stitch because it won't reach the floor. I'm in here on a counter height table and it doesn't reach. But I'm going to keep this along the edge of my foot, which is a 1/4 inch seam, and keep it as straight as I possibly can. You guys won't have a camera and everything else to deal with, so you should be able to keep it pretty straight. And just stitch all the way around. And I have this side and one end to go. I did press mine. And if pinning helps you, by all means pin it. The pressing, it allows you to be able to control pinning it a little bit better. I'm so used to doing little projects like this that most of the time I don't pin. I confess. Okay. And like I said, it's a little thick when you get on this end, so what I'm doing is I am going to that end and then I'm pulling it up. I am cutting my thread loose right there. And then that last seam I'll run through there. I've already done it on this end. Just covering all those raw edges for the little Santa sack. I want to go this way with with it, I believe. Let me move my pins out of the way. And you guys do this whichever way is easiest and best for you and your machine. I keep looking down there for my foot pedal, and I just hit my elbow, and I have it stuck. Let me take that out. See, when you're dealing with an old machine, you have to deal with those kind of things. Cut that knot off of there. And if you need to, your seam ripper. Not everything always goes as planned, does it? Okay, I will go from this side. Like I said, it's a little thick there on the ends, but you can get it to go if you work with it. I just wanted to try to keep this as simple as possible. In the real world, if I were selling these, I would probably miter those corners and finish them off a little bit different. But they're not going to be seamed, so it is not a big deal for me. Just so you guys can kind of see, I'll use my wrist here on this one. That's how I'm sewing without my operational foot being on the floor. And here's back where they get to the thick part. I have a I think it's called a jig, and it goes up under the foot for when you get to thick places like this. But I was too lazy to get it out. And I could probably drop my presser feet back there at the back too, would help. Okay, so now we have that step, and that's what you should have. Your front side should look like this, and the back side, of course, like this. This is the inside of the bag. Now, what you're going to do is fold a short edge over and press and ditch this. Let me cut this thread off. Okay, stitching in the ditch would be like stitching right here, right down through there where those two fabrics meet. Okay, what you're going to do, that's not right, this goes this way we go. You're going to fold it over like this, and then you're going to stitch right down here, down along. I don't know why I put stitch in the ditch there. Let me check my direction. Okay, I kind of confused myself because there's no ditch on this side, but that's basically, you're going to fold this over to the inside, and it's going to get really thick there, so you may need your jig, or you may need to lower your presser feet when you get to those corners, but you're just going to stitch along that edge, or if you've pinned it and you know that it's right, stitch in the ditch right down through here, catching that underneath side. This is what's going to make your pocket, okay? And let me stitch that. I'll be right. Okay guys, I'm going to try to zoom in and show you how I did that. Oops, that's a little bit far. Maybe I can raise up here and get it to autofocus. Let's see. There we go. But you can see, well, it still doesn't want to focus. My autofocus is not wanting to cooperate. Right here, you can see what I did. I haven't done the other end yet. Is you're going to fold this over to where these edges meet, and you're going to press it. You want it pressed well, and then you're going to pin that. Okay? You're going to make sure that you've got it lined up well, and you're going to pin it like so. Then you're going to flip it over this way, and you're going to stitch in this ditch, making sure you can feel when you pin to make sure that your fabric is right below, I mean just barely right below that seam right there where your fabrics meet, and that's going to create your pocket. And you're just going to, you're essentially going to be stitching this down right through here, but you're going to stitch here so those stitches don't show, in case you don't stitch it completely straight. That way it won't show for you. I hope that makes a little bit more sense, what I mean by stitching in the ditch, because you're folding it one way, but you're stitching it from the other side. And I'll be right back. Okay, guys, this basically, pardon my threads, I haven't picked all the threads off of everything yet. This is basically what you should have ended up with. Let me kind of zoom out here. I'm zooming in. Out. There we go. So that you guys can see. You're going to have a pocket on the back side. It's going to be open on both ends here. That's what we want. And that's the way that that goes. Then you're going to fold it this way with these inner seams to the inside, because this is the outside right here. And you're going to stitch from here, right here, down, or from the bottom up, whichever you prefer. But you're going to stop right here at your decorative trim. You are not going to stitch that. Okay, that's got to stay open, or you're going to close your pockets and not be able to put your drawstring in. So I need you to stitch that now, and then. Okay, guys, I finished stitching up to that pocket. Well, almost up to that pocket. My machine wasn't having any part of going any further, so I am going to try to go. I'm sorry, I'm off camera. It wouldn't go any further because my foot was hitting this thick portion here. So I'm going to try to go from this side and close up just a teeny tiny bit more of that. Not that it really matters, because like I said, it's my little Santa sack and it's going to be fine. You're going to turn it inside out and push those corners in or out, whatever. I'm just taking my finger and I'm pushing those corners out. And this is going to be my little finished bag. I think I'll leave it like that with a little bit of give. It's not going to hurt anything. And then we're going to thread our drawstrings. I'm just clipping off any excess strings or anything like that that you may have hanging. And let's get ready to put the drawstrings in and do the iron. Okay, guys, I have pressed my bias tape. I didn't press it much because this stuff is like a gold lame, and you have to iron it on low heat or you will melt it. But I'm just going to take and fold it over to get a good thickness here. And then I'm going to put a safety pin on the end of it, just like that. That's all. That's all you have to do is just safety pin it. Then you're going to put it into one side of the pocket, and you're just going to work it. Now, if you have an elastic threader, which is like a little piece of flat plastic, you can do that as well. Just put it on the end of that. And all I'm doing is I'm pushing that safety pin through and wadding up my fabric. I'm holding onto the safety pin, and I just keep pushing it and gathering the fabric and pulling it back so that I'm threading this through. Then don't pull it all the way through because you don't want to have to rethread. Just give yourself enough to play with here, and then just go through the other side and push it through in the same manner and pull it back. That's all you're doing is just inching that through because the fabric's not stiff. And when you get to that end, just pull it on out and then take your safety pin off. Okay? And you want to get your ends to be just about even and your bag flat, like so. And that's the way that that should look. Then you're going to take the other piece and do the same thing, going in the opposite direction. So I've got this here, And with my strings to my left, I'm going in on my right. And I'm going to work that piece through. All the way to this end and pull it through. And like I said, don't pull it all the way through because then you'll have to rethread it. And then I'm just going around. You can go under or over the others, it doesn't matter, and push it through to the other side. You're just repeating what you did with the other one so that the strings come out on the opposite side of the others. Let's work that safety pin back through. Then I can take that pin off. We're done with it. And like I said, an elastic threader does the same thing. It's just a piece of like flat plastic that looks like a big flat plastic needle. And then your drawstring should look just like this on each side. And then when you pull them, it should cinch the sack closed. Okay? And then open it. And I've got one of my, I don't want them exactly even, but close. You don't want to have one that's 3 or 4 inches off from the other. But just kind of layer those. Then, that's when you're going to put on, now if you've got a small child that you're giving this to, I don't recommend putting bells, beads, anything like that on the end. Just simply tie a knot in the end. This one I am going to cut it kind of a sharp angle here. Just like so. And buttons go everywhere. And let's see, let me pick out a couple of them that I like here. I'm going to go with this one, I think, first. And you're just going to put your bead, your button, your bell, whatever you want on there. And this is awfully thick for what I'm doing. I may have to melt that because it's unraveling, or put some fray check on it. Fray check will just stop it from raveling. And I just want to thread it through. Like so. And then I'm going to tie a knot, and I'm going to trim all that frayed stuff off. Just tie a knot in the end. And I probably will put some fray stop on this one. But then I've just got a little bow there on the end, just to kind of decorate it up some. Like I said, you don't have to have that. You can put it on one side, you can put one on each side, and I think that's what I'm going to do, is just put one on each side and tie a knot. Simply just tie a knot in the other side. Because sometimes less is more. I'll just trim that off to be a little fancier. And then that's what the finished sack should look like once you're done. But now we're going to do the iron-on, so let me prepare for that and clean all of this stuff out of the way, and I'll be back with you guys to do the iron-on. Okay guys, I have cut and weeded my Cricut foil iron-on, and I'm going to iron it on the sack, and I'll be right back. If you're using the Easy Press, use the recommended settings for that. If you're using a heat press, I would use what Caesar recommends. And they're saying 275 for 10 to 15 seconds, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'll be back with the results. Okay guys, there is the finished product. I have peeled it, and it is a cold peel with the foil. I think that's just the movement of my fabric. I thought maybe I had a place that it didn't adhering, but it appears to have adhered everywhere, and I can just barely see. I thought that was a wrinkle, but I think that's my fabric. That's not, because it's adhered. Maybe the reflection that I'm seeing. I think it is. But it's adhered, and I can just barely see the fabric grain through that. And I did use a heat press. I do not have a Cricut easy press. I would love one for small projects like this, because I had to maneuver and finagle my heat press around because it's so big. But that is that project, and if any of you guys want the Believe file, I think what I will do is create that in a different font. This is one that I got from somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I did upload it, so it's not shareable. But you can search the internet for it. I believe I have the Samantha font to do this with. As a matter of fact, I know I do, and if not, I do have the Desire font I can do that in, and I'll supply you guys with a file for that. The other one for the Santa sacks that I supplied for you is meant to be cut on a much larger scale for the larger Santa sacks, and I'm waiting on my sacks to come, and then I'll cut that other one for you guys and show you how to use that one. You have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up. Come over to the groups if you're not a member. Facebook groups, Cricut Maker projects, and Cricut Crafting. Join up. If you have questions or anything, just let us know. We'll be happy to help you out. You have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.